Yo, welcome back to Eat, Sleep, Breathe Hoops with your boy, Nikki P. You know what time it is, you know who it is. Let's go, man. Let's check it out. In the history of the NBA, there have been giants, there have been freaks in nature, and then there are guys who had no business being on the same floor, except for the fact that they had a heart the size of the arena. Today, we're talking about one of those guys, a player who walked into an expansion franchise, got booed on draft night, and proceeded to drop in 19 points and 9 assists a game like it was nothing. A Portland kid who came home to lead the most talented and infamous team of his generation to the brink of the NBA Finals. I'm talking about Damon Mighty Mouse Stoudamire. We're going to cover his whole journey, the upbringing in Portland, the high school dominance, the Arizona years, his arrival to Toronto, the nickname, the legendary run in Portland where they almost took down the Lakers, the Jailblazer controversy, and the legacy he's built since. The upbringing, the Portland foundation. Damon Lamone Stoudamire was born on September 3rd, 1973 in Portland, Oregon. And from the jump, the odds were stacked against him in a way that had nothing to do with hoop. His parents, Willie Stoudamire and Liz Washington, never married. When Damon was just 7 years old, his father moved away to Milwaukee to work in a brewery. So who raised him? His mother, Liz, and his grandmother, Wanda Stoudamire Matthews. And it was his uncles, Charles and Anthony, who stepped in as father figures and got him into sports, mainly basketball and football. This is the classic story of so many greats. The village raising the child. They would take him to Irving Park in the Portland neighborhood of Irvington and to the Matt Dishman Community Center. Those were the proving grounds. That's where he learned to be quick, to be tough, and to never back down from anyone. And he had a hero. Stoudamire grew up watching Nate Tiny Archibald, another undersized point guard who scored and distributed with the best of them. Damon patterned his game after Archibald, and if you know anything about Nate, you know that meant relentless aggression. Then tragedy stuck. During his junior year of high school, his grandmother Wanda, the woman who helped raise him, died of cancer. He would later tattoo her face and her address on his left arm so that she would always be with him. That's the kind of weight he carried onto the court. He wasn't just playing for himself, he was playing for his family. And on to the high school dominance, the Wilson Trojans. Stoudamire attended Woodrow Wilson High School in Portland. He was not just good, he was historically great. Over his career, the Wilson Trojans went 74-4. Y'all say that again. 74-4 with Damon Stoudamire running the show. They won state championships in 1989 and 1991. That's absurd dominance. As a senior, he averaged a cool 26.1 points, 9.2 assists, and 3.6 boards per game. Let me put that in perspective. He was doing the Russell Westbrook stat line before Westbrook was born. He was named Oregon Player of the Year twice, and he also was a Converse High School All-American. Now, you think a kid from Portland with those numbers would go to the University of Oregon, right? Or Oregon State or something like that, right? Stay at home, be the local hero. He was accepted by Oregon, but he made a different choice. He chose the desert. He chose the University of Arizona, AZ, and that decision would define his next 4 years. The Arizona years were building a Wildcat legend. At Arizona from 1991 to 1995, Stoudamire transformed from a talented high school scorer into a complete point guard. His junior year, 1993 and 94, was the breakout. He teamed up with Khalid Reeves to form one of the best backcourts in the nation. They made a run to the Final Four. That experience, playing on the biggest stage in college basketball, prepared him for the bright lights of the NBA. But his senior year, that was the masterpiece. As a senior, Stoudamire averaged almost 23 a game. He scored a career-high 45 at Stanford on January 12, 1995. He was a first-team All-American and a finalist for the Wooden Award. He shared Pac-10 Player of the Year honors with Ed O'Bannon. When he left Arizona, he held the high school record for three-pointers made, 272, and he was second all-time in points at 1,849 and fourth in assists at 663. He was also the only player in Arizona history to have two 40-point games. The stats say star, but the eye test said NBA ready. He was 5'10 in shoes, but he played like he was 6'6". He had deep range, a lightning-quick first step, and the kind of confidence that drove coaches crazy if you're not winning and makes them look like geniuses if you are. Let's move on to his arrival in Toronto his rookie year. This is where the legend truly began. The Toronto Raptors and the Vancouver Grizzlies were the two expansion teams joining the NBA in 1995. The Raptors had the 7th overall pick. The draft was held in Toronto, and the hometown fans wanted one thing: Ed O'Bannon, the reigning NCAA Player of the Year from UCLA. So when Isaiah Thomas, then the Raptors executive, stood up and announced Damon Stoudamire from the University of Arizona, the arena erupted in boos. They wanted the big name. They got the 5'10" point guard. Stoudamire later told McLean's magazine that those boos didn't bother him. In fact, they fueled him. And as soon as the fans saw him play for the first time, they turned around completely because his rookie season was an absolute clinic. 19 points a game, second among rookies. 9.3 assists per game, led all rookies. 133 threes made, an NBA rookie record at the time. And 3 triple-doubles, a Raptor record that stood until Kyle Lowry broke it nearly 20 years later. He won the Rookie of the Month award twice. He was unanimous all-rookie first team. He won the MVP of the Rookie All-Star game, and then he won the big one, NBA Rookie of the Year, receiving 76 of the 113 votes. Think about what he accomplished. He was the shortest player to ever win the award at the time. He was the 3rd lowest draft pick, 7th overall, to ever win it at the time. He did this on an expansion team that won only 21 games. The team was terrible, but Damon was must-see TV every single night. Let's get to the Mighty Mouse. You can't tell the story of Damon Stoudamire without explaining the nickname. He's 5'10", about 170 pounds, if that. And entering his rookie season, he had a tattoo of the cartoon character Mighty Mouse on his right arm. For those who don't know, Mighty Mouse is the little guy who flies in and saves the day against villains twice his size, and that's exactly what Damon did on the basketball court. He was the smallest guy on the floor most nights, but he was often the most dangerous. The name stuck, and unlike some nicknames that feel forced, Mighty Mouse was perfect. It captured the essence of his game: undersized, underestimated, and utterly unafraid. On to the Portland years, his homecoming and the heartbreak. By the 1997-98 season, Stoudamire's time in Toronto was coming to an end. He was unhappy after Isaiah Thomas sold his share of the team, and he was traded to his hometown Portland Trail Blazers at the trade deadline. For a kid from Portland who grew up playing at Irving Park, this was a dream come true. He was coming home. And the Blazers were loaded. By 1999 and 2000, the roster was stacked with crazy talent. Rasheed Wallace, Scottie Pippen, Steve Smith, Arvydas Sabonis, Brian Grant, and the young Jermaine O'Neal, J.O., and at the point guard, Damon Stoudamire. In 1999, the Blazers made the Western Conference Finals, where they were swept by the eventual champion San Antonio Spurs. But 2000, that was the year. The 2000 Western Conference Finals, LA versus Portland, a matchup for the ages. The Lakers had Shaq in his prime and a rising Kobe Bryant. The Blazers had depth, defense, and experience. The Blazers fell behind 3-1 in the series. Most teams would fold, but Portland won Game 5. Then they came back and won Game 6, and Game 7 was in LA. Stoudamire later told the Boston Globe that entering that Game 7, he felt like time was on his side. He was 26 years old. This was his 2nd straight conference finals appearance. He thought there would be more. The Blazers roared out to a 13-point lead in the 4th quarter. They were 12 minutes away from the NBA Finals. And then, the collapse. Portland missed 13 shots in a row. They went nearly 8 minutes without a point, without getting a bucket. The Lakers came back, won the game, and went on to the first of 3 straight championships. Stoudamire described the aftermath, quoting, "All I remember is it felt like an earthquake at the Staples Center, and then it took us like 2.5 hours to get out the arena because there were people all in the streets. And I remember a group of grown men literally crying because we felt like we had an opportunity and we let it slip away." He never watched the tape. He couldn't bring himself to relive it. The jail Blazer controversy. And now after that piercing finals loss, we got to address the elephant in the room, which is the Jail Blazers nickname. It's a label that had followed the Portland era for 2 decades, and Damon Stoudamire had strong feelings about it. Between 2002 and 2003, Stoudamire was busted for marijuana possession on 3 separate occasions. Once at his home in Lake Oswego, where a pound of pot was found, though charges were dropped due to an illegal search. Once in a car with Rasheed Wallace after a win in Seattle. And once at the Tuscan airport carrying 1.5 ounces of bud. He was fined $250,000, suspended for 3 months by the Blazers, and entered a 90-day rehab program. He wasn't alone. Rasheed Wallace had his technical foul issues. Ruben Patterson faced serious charges. Quintel Woods was involved in an animal cruelty case. Zach Randolph had legal trouble. The team was a tabloid magnet. But here's the thing. Stoudamire pushes back hard on the Jailblazers label. In a 2026 interview, he called it disrespectful. He said, "I used to keep the Trailblazers gear in my trunk and ride through the neighborhood and pass it out. So for me, it was disrespectful." In a separate interview with Slam magazine, he elaborated, great group of guys, man. We hung out a lot and did a lot of stuff off the court together. We got in trouble, but it was way overblown. Guys were in their 20s. They give these guys in today's era more breaks than they gave us." It's a fair point. The Jailblazers label had become shorthand for the team that had off-court issues, but it often overshadows the fact that they were one of the most talented teams of their era and one shot away from the finals. The later years and legacy. After Portland, Stoudamire played for the Memphis Grizzlies and then the San Antonio Spurs. He finally returned to the conference finals in 2008 as a 34-year-old with the Spurs, but that run was halted as well. He never made it to the NBA Finals. He retired in 2008 with career averages of 13.4 points and 6.1 assists over 878 regular season games, which don't tell the story and aren't even remotely close to showing what his climax and peak as a hooper in the league was. He was a great player. He scored a franchise record 54 points in the game for the Blazers in 2005, a record that still stands. But the story doesn't end there. After retiring, Stoudamire went into coaching. He worked at Rice University, with the Memphis Grizzlies, at the University of Memphis, and at the University of Arizona. He became the head coach at the University of the Pacific, where he won the Ben Jobe Award and WCC Coach of the Year honors in 2020. And as of this recording, he's the head coach at Georgia Tech in the ACC. The Mighty Mouse legacy. Damon Stoudamire's career is a lesson in perspective. He was too small. He was picked by an expansion team. He got booed on draft night. He played in the shadow of the Jailblazers label, and he suffered one of the most devastating Game 7 collapses in NBA history. But he never stopped. He never backed down. He was Rookie of the Year. He was an all-rookie first-teamer. He led his hometown team to the brink of the finals, and now he's building the next generation of players as a head coach. The nickname Mighty Mouse wasn't just about the tattoo or the height. It was about the heart. It was about a 5'10" kid from Portland who looked at Giants and said, "I don't fear y'all." And that right there is a legacy worth celebrating. So go ahead and hit that like button, smash that like button, hop up in the comments, let me know what y'all think about Damon Stoudamire. Let me know whether, regardless of your age, shoot, if you're a hooper, you know who Damon Stoudamire is. And if you don't, go do your research and be a historian of the game. He was a great player. And hop up in that comment section, go share, smash that like button. And y'all know who this is, man. It's Nicky P. You're rocking with Eat, Sleep, Breathe, Hoops. And until the next time, peace.